Because of jets like this, in the expansive world of aviation, we've been able to travel the globe safely and in style. Wars have been won with the use of these flying machines, and aid worldwide has been delivered when humanity has faced epic disasters. Since 1903, when whenWilbur and Orville Wright invented the first successful airplane, you'll not believe how far we've come. No great flight success was achieved without big sacrifices, from the Spruce Goose to the Beluga Airbus, or like the monster sitting on the shores of the Capsian Sea. Let's get lifted. These 15 large airplanes will truly surprise you.
More than 300 feet long and 130 feet high.
Stratolaunch, the world's largest plane. Don't expect to see this at your local airport anytime soon. This is the Stratolaunch. With a wingspan of 385 feet, this hypersonic rocket-launching plane is now the largest in the world. The Stratolaunch is an aircraft built to carry air-launched to orbit rockets. It features a twin fuselage ton maximum takeoff weight. By the numbers, the Stratolaunch, aka the Rock, is the largest plane ever built. It's longer than a professional football field. Its twin fuselages are 238 feet long, while its tail height is 50 feet. As such, it had to be constructed here at the Mojave Air and Spaceport, inside a specially constructed 88,000 square foot hangar. The aircraft flew for the first time in April of 2019. A decent-sized crowd showed up to the Mojave Desert just to watch and celebrate the first ever launch. The pilots climbed to 17,000 feet to test the craft's performance and handling, doing a number of aerial maneuvers like pushovers, pull-ups, and steady heading side slips. The works. The Stratolaunch pilots simulated landing approach exercises as well. The crowd definitely got a great show.
In the center between the two fuselages, and they're saying they can carry a rocket that weighs almost 500,000 pounds.
Now let's get ready for today's missing topic. The thing about planes is that their designers, from the engineers to the mechanics, from top to bottom, most of these individuals are obsessed with aviation in general, and they probably have been obsessed with monster crafts like this their entire lives. That's why newer, bigger, more technically advanced, and way more costly planes are being tested every year. And if a large airplane like this could exist, it probably already would, or certainly will soon. The aviation trading has always been fueled by outrageous, unimaginable ideas with people willing to at least give it a try. And some of these airplane ideas are now very, very real. We've come a long way, and airplanes like this can take us even further than we've ever imagined. Impressed? What do you think about these big ideas with wings? Comment and share using the hashtag #MissingTopic. Hey, did you know that if you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you're more likely to win the lottery? So what are you waiting for? The Spruce Goose. The largest wooden airplane ever constructed and flown only one time, this is the Spruce Goose. It was born out of a need to fly troops and material across the Atlantic Ocean during World War II. Henry Kaiser, steel magnate and shipbuilder, conceived the idea and turned to Howard Hughes to design and build it, even with the government's restrictions on steel and aluminum during the war. 6 times larger than any aircraft of its time, the Spruce Goose is made entirely of wood, despite the fact that the plane is made almost entirely of birch. Maybe Birch Goose didn't have the same ring to it. The big plane made only one flight on November 2nd, 1947, with Hughes at the controls and several engineers, crewmen, and journalists on board. The Spruce Goose just flew over 1 mile at an altitude of 70 feet for 1 minute. It was quite the spectacle for sure, in the air and on the ground. Speaking of spectacles, by the mid-1990s, the former Hughes aircraft buildings in LA, including where the Spruce Goose was built, had been converted into movie sound stages. Scenes from movies such as The Aviator, Titanic, Avatar, and Transformers have been filmed on location in the 315,000 square foot airplane hangar, the same place where Howard Hughes created the legendary flying boa. Airbus Beluga XL. Airbus's newest airplane that regular passengers won't be able to fly on is now flying full-time. The Beluga XL cargo plane just entered operational service. The plane's distinctive bulbous shape has earned it the nickname the Flying Whale. The XL's twinkly-eyed, smiling-faced, whimsical design was chosen by Airbus staff following a poll in which 20,000 employees were given 6 options and asked to choose their favorite. According to Airbus, it decided to build the Beluga XL in 2014 as a response to the greater transport and capacity requirements. The Beluga is a cargo plane designed to transport major sections of planes to its assembly plants in France and Germany from suppliers around Europe. It flies pieces as large as the middle and rear fuselage of an airliner or the wing of an aircraft. The Beluga XL will take over for the current generation Beluga that's been in service for about 2 decades. The Beluga XL is larger with greater cargo capacity and is expected to deliver superior performance than its predecessor. It's safe to say this plane will deliver, and the flying whale is a friend to the skies. The Dornier Doe X. Known as a flying boat, the Dornier Doe X, this boat plane could soar through the skies and skim through the seas. And in July 1929, this symbol of luxury air and sea travel took its first flight. A few months later, it carried a world record 169 passengers on a 40-minute flight. And the next year, it took off on a publicity tour, hopping through Europe, down the west coast of Africa, across the Atlantic to Brazil, and up to New York. The hope of the tour was to stoke interest in the Doe X for civilian air travel. But apart from 2 additional modes built, the Leviathan of the sky failed to take off commercially. However, it provided a glamorous way to see the world as the 70 to 100 passengers on board were treated to a dining salon, smoking lounge, wet bar, and comfortable seating. Weighing 61 tons and with a wingspan of 177 feet, it was a massive craft that had over 12 engines and could reach an altitude of 1,650 feet. Though it was financed by the German Transport Ministry, it had to be built in Switzerland as the Treaty of Versailles forbade Germany from making certain types of airplanes. This plane did, however, have a few non-fatal accidents, and by the mid-1930s, the aircraft had gone out of fashion. Antonov AN-225. This wide-body aircraft is powered by 6 turbofan engines and is the longest and heaviest airplane ever built. And there's only one operational in the entire world. It was built to carry space shuttles, and 27 years after it entered service, it's still the world's biggest plane. Measuring 275 feet long with a 289-foot wingspan, it weighs 175 tons without cargo or fuel. Its cargo compartment is big enough to hold 50 cars. To carry all that weight, it has 32 wheels spread across its oversized landing gear. And because of this, it set over 200 world records, including airlifting the world's heaviest cargo and the world's longest. It set one in 2004 when it flew a 247-ton piece of oil pipeline machinery to Uzbekistan. The AN-225, better known as the Myra, creates a fuss wherever it goes. Designed in Ukraine to carry the Soviet Buran space shuttle on its back, it made its first flight in 1988, coming into service the next year. It was taken out of service in 1994 but came back into use in 2001. Since then, it's taken aid to disaster scenes, including the Haiti earthquake of 2010 and the Japanese earthquake and tsunami of 2011. AN-225 to the rescue. Boeing 777X. This aviation giant has successfully sent brand new technology into the sky. This new technology comes in the form of the Boeing 777X. It's a new family of planes. There are 2 models, and one of them is one of the largest planes in the world. Its larger counterpart is the jet that's been getting all the recent attention. It's the world's largest twin-engine aircraft, measuring 250 feet long and carries 426 passengers. They built a new engine for the 777X series. Like the planes it was made for, it's massive, but also lighter than its predecessor. That doesn't mean it's lost any power though. In fact, the engine was designed to generate 100,000 pounds of thrust. That's more than America's first manned space flight. But the real stop and stare component of the 777X is its folding wings. In aviation, the longer and more slender the wings of the aircraft, the better. Not just because it's greatly reducing the drag. The movable wings can help with turbulence, but airports have made the use of gargantuan wings impossible. There's only so much room on the runway and between the gates. Only a few airports could handle its epic wingspan. The Super Guppy. Today's Super Guppy is only the latest interpretation of this specially built aircraft. It's made by Aerospace Line Sand and it's nicknamed Frankenplane. Why, you ask? The Guppy is actually made of elements from other aircraft. It's a plane made up of repurposed plane parts. This shiny silver monster, then known as the Pregnant Guppy, looks more like an airship than an aircraft. The idea was hatched one evening in 1960 when former Air Force pilot Jack Conroy was talking with an aircraft broker who had just acquired a number of old Boeing Model 377 Stratocruisers that he hoped to resell. A few hard cuts, nips, tucks, and some airplane hacks later, the air traffic controllers were so doubtful that the plane would even get off the ground that they notified police and fire departments to be ready. But the Super Guppy prevailed. On September 19, 1962, the bizarre new aircraft took to the skies near LA. When pilot Conroy took off and safely landed the specially modified hulk of a plane without a hitch, he inaugurated a new age of airborne transport. Today, Super Guppy is a large, wide-bodied cargo aircraft that's used for hauling outsized cargo components. The Frankenplane can still transport monstrous cargo. Antonov AN-124. The AN-124, designed by Kiev, Ukraine, is another epic cargo aircraft designed for long-range delivery and airdropping of heavy and large-sized cargo, including machines, equipment, and troops. On the 24th of December in 1982, the AN-124 heavy strategic military transport airplane took off from the factory aerodrome. To assure proper engineering levels during the AN-124 aircraft development, a comprehensive goal-oriented program was elaborated and implemented for the first time in the USSR. To get the best results, 540 probable airplane configurations were analyzed in order to identify an optimum combination of parameters. Plus, 185 different models were tested in the wind tunnels, including 36 variants of wings. Antonov's plane entered service in 1986, and more than 55 aircraft were built. Antonov signed an agreement in August 2011 to modernize the fleet. The overhauled aircraft will have a maximum takeoff weight of 402 tons, a cargo lift capacity of 150 tons, and a flight range of over 3,000 miles with a minimum crew of 3. 30 world records have been set on the AN-124, including an absolute payload to altitude record when a 171.2-ton payload was lifted to the altitude of 35,269 feet. C-17 Globemaster III. It's a long-range, heavy-lift strategic transport aircraft that can operate in combat, peacekeeping, or humanitarian missions worldwide. The Globemaster III can transport 100,000 pounds of freight more than 4,500 miles while flying at altitudes above 35,000 feet. And its design enables high-angle, steep approaches at relatively slow speeds, allowing it to operate into small, austere airfields and onto short runways. Its load-bearing rear ramp and digitally controlled loading systems, combined with the skills of its crew and ground handlers, it's capable of rapid, strategic delivery of troops and all types of cargo. The massive, sturdy, long-haul aircraft tackles distance, destination, and a heavy, oversized payload in unpredictable conditions, and delivered cargo in every worldwide operation since the 1990s. Boeing has partnered with the U.S. Air Force on C-17 sustainment since the delivery of the first aircraft in 1993. Since then, it is a best-in-class craft performing at the highest level worldwide. The transport is in service with the U.S. Air Force along with Air Arms of India, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and the United Arab Emirates. B-52 Stratofortress. Boeing built 744 B-52s in Seattle, Washington, and Wichita, Kansas. Production started in 1952, and the last bomber was delivered in 1962. There's no single factor that's allowed it to fly for so long, but two characteristics stand out: its ruggedness and its simplicity. The B-52H gets some of its strength from a structure that's over-engineered compared with modern aircraft by removing unneeded weight via tighter design tolerances. The aircraft also is simpler and more generic than its modern contemporaries. It was designed to fly at high speeds and low altitudes below enemy radar coverage and designed to avoid detection with stealth technology. It's capable of dropping or launching the widest array of weapons too, including gravity bombs, cluster bombs, sea mines, and joint direct attack munitions. With a 70,000-pound payload, those weapons can be arranged inside the aircraft's spacious bomb bay or across its 185-foot wingspan. It can carry and launch up to 20 cruise missiles as well. Although the B-52 was initially intended as a high-altitude bomber, it's proved to be more versatile. In fact, the B-52 will serve longer than the Air Force's two current bomber aircraft, which were both introduced into service decades after the B-52, yet are scheduled for retirement soon. Lockheed C-5 Galaxy. The first production group of these transports were built in the 1970s. As the Air Force's largest and only strategic airlifter, the C-5 Galaxy can carry more cargo farther distances than any other aircraft. With a payload of 6 military vehicles or up to 5 helicopters, a newer model was produced to introduce a variety of system improvements aimed at boosting the jet's reliability. However, the mission-capable rate of the Galaxy continued to decline. In the mid-90s, of the 126 C-5s in service, up to 32% of them were down for maintenance at one time. Of all the aircraft operated by the U.S. Air Force, the C-5's mission-capable rate was the worst. But this bird can still fly. The C-5M Super Galaxy is an upgraded version with new engines and modernized avionics designed to extend its service life beyond 2040. A joint U.S. Air Force and Lockheed Martin crew set 43 world aviation records, demonstrating the C-5's ability. Nicely done, Galaxy! With departure reliability rates greater than 90% and payload increases of 20% over legacy C-5s, the Super Galaxy is delivering more to our forces on every mission. The Airlander 10 airship. This is an ultra-cool hybrid airship designed and built by British manufacturer Hybrid Air Vehicles, comprising a helium airship with auxiliary wing and tail surfaces. It flies using both aerostatic and aerodynamic lift, powered by 4 diesel engine-driven ducted propellers. A prototype of the world's longest aircraft, the Airlander 10 will be replaced with a newer, safer production-ready model. It's hoped the new airship model will take to the skies by the early 2020s. It can take off and land from almost any flat surface, reaches heights of 7,000 feet and speeds of up to 50 knots. It could be used for a variety of functions, including surveillance, communications, transporting, freight, delivering aid, and passenger travel. However, the original prototype undertook 6 test flights, some of which ended in chaos. It crashed in 2016 on its second test flight after a successful 30-minute maiden voyage. Another mishap befell the 302-foot-long craft in 2017 when a woman was taken to a hospital after its hull automatically deflated when the vessel came loose from its moorings. The new design of the world's longest aircraft will be 5% longer and more reliable, we hope. Boeing Dreamlifter. This may be the world's longest cargo aircraft. It certainly is one of the more visually striking as well. Boeing designed this mammoth aircraft to transport components for its 787 Dreamliner. Boeing began planning for its 787 Dreamliner in the early 2000s, but it became evident that the conventional shipping methods for the aircraft's components would take too long. This was because suppliers were located as far afield as Japan and Italy. As such, Boeing elected to ferry these parts by air. They needed to design a specialized aircraft. The company bought 4 of its 747 jets from Chinese and Malaysian airliners and transformed them into a new kind of plane that was capable of airlifting the Dreamliner's parts. Initially known as the large cargo freighters, the planes were later christened to the Boeing 747 Dreamlifters. The craft's tail is linked to the rest of the fuselage by hinges so that it can swing open when cargo operations start. Its components then slide through the plane's open rear on a system of tracks before the jet takes off and flies to its next stop. With just 4 having been built, it's also among the rarest freight aircraft in the world today. Convair B-36 Peacekeeper. It's the largest piston-powered combat aircraft ever built. Powered by 6 radio and 4 jet engines, it bridged the gap between World War II propeller aircraft and the jets of the Cold War. The Convair B-36 Peacemaker was a bomber operated by the United States Air Force from 1949 to 1959, but only one prototype was built. The B-36 has the largest wingspan of any combat aircraft at 230 feet. B-36s were known for their slogan of 6 turning and 4 burning, though the jet engines were typically only used for takeoff and, though never required, additional speed over a bombing target. In flight, the engineer could shut the jets down and close special levers at the front of the engine to reduce drag. This extended maximum range at the expense of cruise speed. Despite its capabilities, the B-36 never fired a shot or dropped a bomb in combat. However, the B-36 was the first bomber capable of delivering any of the nuclear weapons in the U.S. arsenal from inside its 4 bomb bays without aircraft modifications. With a range of 10,000 miles and a maximum payload of 87,200 pounds, the B-36 was capable of intercontinental flight without refueling too. An iconic jet indeed. The Caspian Monster. On June 22, 1966, the completed version of this plane began transportation to the testing grounds on the Caspian Sea. It was transported from Gorky along the river in secret, covered in camouflage and moving only at night. This aircraft is designed to fly by taking advantage of the increased lift and decreased drag an aircraft's wings experience when close to the Earth during flight. Where an ordinary plane only experiences ground effect during takeoff and landing, this plane exploits ground effect during the entire time the vehicle is operating. This is also why it can operate over water. And now this Soviet-era version, aka MD-160 or the Caspian Monster, is currently beached in the Caspian Sea and taking on water. It's possible the craft may be hammered apart by Mother Nature before it can be repaired and put on display as a museum showpiece as originally intended. It arrived on site before it was discovered there was nowhere to put the aircraft. The craft has reportedly been sitting in the surf ever since, with locals making multiple unsuccessful attempts to haul it into the shore by hand. It served in the Russian Navy from the late 1980s through the late 1990s.